the quads back. On this episode, we're going to be changing the engine oil. So for this engine oil change in the quad, we're using amsoil again today. So I've got the 0W40 amsoil and the amsoil oil filter. You're also going to need a 19mm socket, and you might need these oil filter removal pliers. You'll need a drain pan, and that's pretty much it. So to get started, you're going to want to remove that panel, but first you have to take the seat off. Once you get the seat off, you can pull that panel aside, and you're going to see your Arctic Cat oil filter. To remove this, it was pretty tight, so I had to use the oil filter pliers to get it off. These are by Channel Lock, and I use them in pretty much all my videos, and they work super well. So once you can get that off, it is going to drain and be a little bit messy all over the front of the bike, but we can use some brake clean a little bit later to hit that up and clean it off. So this is an amsoil oil filter. It's made for motorcycles, but it also works on ATVs and UTVs. Amsoil has a vehicle finder that you can find all the oil and parts that will fit your bike. But just comparing it to the OEM Arctic Cat filter, it is a lot shorter, but it has fewer holes, but they're bigger. It's also got a synthetic blend media, which is supposed to protect the engine for up to 100 hours. And using their oil filters for cars, they're very high quality, so I see zero issue using it on their quads. You're also going to want to remove the fill cap before we release the drain plug. I always do this just in case the fill cap doesn't come off and then there's no oil left in it. That's just a fear I have. But once we get this off, we can see that there was oil in it, and it's pretty dirty. So next we're going to go under the center of the bike, and when you get under here, there's a small little hole in the skid plate, and it's a 19mm head bolt, and we're going to remove that with our 19mm socket. You could use a wrench, but I feel that would just beg for disaster. So this is what the drain plug magnet caught, and I'm going to assume that's the starter gear teeth from last week's episode. I'm glad I caught it though. After I cleaned it up, it looks much, much better. So once all the oil's drained out, we're going to reinstall it, and there is a crush washer that you can replace, but you can also flip them over if you haven't used them before, and that works just as well, so that's what I did. And I'm going to torque it down just to be a little past snug. Just like when I do vehicles, I like to wipe down all the surfaces that there was oil on, just so I can tell if there's an oil leak way more easily than if it's just layers of built up old oil. I also use some brake clean just to clean it off too. Now to install our new filter, we're just going to spin it on until it's snug. Normally I'd only turn it half to 3/4 of a turn past snug, but because this single cylinder engine has a tendency to vibrate, I'm going to put it on pretty tight. Next, we're going to put a long neck funnel in the fill hole, and AMSOIL's website says that this takes about 3 quarts of oil. However, I'm not sure how much I've gotten out yet, so I'm going to start with 2, start the bike up, and then measure my old oil back into these containers. And when I did that, I found it was closer to 2.5 quarts. So what I got out is what I put back in, just because I don't want to overfill the engine. I'm also going to check on the oil dipstick to see how the oil level is, and we're going to use that as the marker. Once you've added in all the oil, make sure that you reinstall the fill cap. It's pretty easy to cross thread, so make sure it's going the right way. Then, let's start it up. After filling it up with AMSOIL, you can instantly tell that it's quieter than it was before. Now all that's left to do is put the side panels back on, the seat, and you're good to go. Thanks for watching. See you next time.